Okay, I just want to make a video. I was looking, I haven't made a video since 2018 just on the car overall. That was just before I started the work on it. I'll try to remember, I'll post up some pictures of the car before I started. It's kind of set in the same place it was when I first moved it, and I have a few pictures. So. So anyway, just to kind of give a rundown, people that don't know, I've had the car since 1979. I believe I bought it when I was in high school, between my junior and senior years of high school. I think I bought the car about on June the 17th, 1979. Drove it the rest of high school, drove it in college, drove it quite a while actually. In about 30 years ago, a little longer than that now, because before I got married, I decided I wanted to do some changes on the car, so I rebuilt the motor. Had a 176 cylinder in it. I rebuilt the motor. I put triple one barrel carbs on it, a cam in it, a header on it, and of course had a board, and I rebuilt everything. Put a 3-speed, a regular 373 3-speed in it, and a Maverick 8-inch rear end for a 6-cylinder, so it was a 4-bolt rear end. Drove the car for a while. It's actually in my engagement pictures with my wife. Never did finish it, obviously, but I did drive it for a long time. Since I've owned this car, I've been plagued with brake issues. When I was in school, or just after I got out of school, I was driving and I kept blowing front wheel cylinders. So finally put new drums on the front and kind of cleared that up. And then mid 90s, early 90s, I was daily driving the car, and lost my brakes again. This time it was my master cylinder. And looking back on it, I believe it was probably I collapsed some brake lines, and but I parked it. It sat parked for a long time, 20 years. Time gets away from you. Other things in life happen. But anyway, on June the 17th, which would have been the anniversary date of 2018, I finally decided it was time to do something. I'd been working on the body, trying to save some of it. It's trying to rust up, and so I'd been doing some work on it. But I pushed it in the shed, and the rest is kind of history. So I'm going to kind of run through some of the things I've done. I've got a sheet here, so I'm going to try to run through. I'm not going to show you everything. If I had a lift, I would. But we'll talk about, we'll go around the car probably 4 or 5 times. The old car's not in bad shape, by the way. It's not rusty. There was, of course, rust over oil wells that I fixed. But start out, I'm just going to cover what I did on the suspension. Obviously, I've got air ride, and you can see it's lowered down right now. This as low as it goes. It doesn't go any lower than that, which that's fine. Kind of, if you look at the front, I'll come over here and maybe you can see this. I don't know if you can, but the cross member just about on the ground. So that's the sway bar in front, and I'd say it's maybe 3 inches off the ground if it's lucky. So can't go much lower without stuff touching and being done different. Anyway, on the rear end of the car, we'll start back here. I was already back here, but we'll go back again. Part of the thing that happened when it sat for so long is the trunk seal leaked in the back. I think I had a little bit of mouse infestation. Had some shag carpet in the back. Got wet, rusted the trunk out. Now, the trunk was always perfect on this car. Rusted the gas tanks, the trunk floors, most of you know. Rusted it out and rusted all around the gas tank. So, anyway, so I ended up cutting the floor out of the back of the car. I'd show you what it looks like, but there's a bunch of junk in the trunk already, so I can't even show it to you. Ended up though, let's just talk about the suspension. On the rear, it's a 4-link triangulated suspension, triangulated 4-link. It's a cheapie. I bought it off eBay from Johnny Law Motors. I think it's a Hoffman Group thing. I didn't end up using a bunch of it, but just some of the brackets. I bought arms and stuff off Speedway and replaced end links and all sorts of stuff on it. The front lower bar is actually mounted in the leaf spring pocket on the front. So it works fine. It's great that way. And then I had to add plates to the frame and the upper bars and stuff on there. Of course, the rear end is an 8.8 out of a 98 V8 Mercury Mountaineer. It's a 373 with track lock and disc brakes. I narrowed it to 56 3/4 of an inch myself by using a second passenger axle on the driver's side. Now, as you can know, that's the Quickie Home narrowing thing. Of course, it's got airbags on the rear. Airbags are Slam Specialty SS6 bags. Slam makes a really good bag. It doesn't balloon or anything. The rear shocks are from a 97 Mitsubishi Montero. And just because they fit, I looked around to find ones that fit, and those fit. Of course, I got a lot of homemade brackets and stuff I made on there. I built my own upper shock mounts. The lower shock mounts were included with the Johnny Log thing. The front is a 74 Mustang 2 manual rack and pinion gearbox. So, and it's just a plain one. I think I probably bought off Rock Auto. If I was doing it over again, I'd probably maybe buy a little bit better one. I don't know. It has a set of 2-inch drop spindles, which are required because I've got that 6-cylinder in there, and I had to get it low enough to go fit under the hood. And the tubular upper and control arms, I bought them off eBay. They're not great ones, but they're set up for airbags. They had a plate on the bottom, and so all I had to do was bolt the airbag right to them. I think they were gearheads. I don't know. They're cheapies, Chinese made ones off of eBay. They got Chrysler ball joints in them, and the boots are crap. I've already replaced the boots with a set of Prothane boots, but they just chewed the boots right up on them when it's down like it is right now. The airbags are Slam Specialty again, but they're SS5s, so they're the smallest bag they make, just so they're small enough to fit in there. Of course, the disc brakes are kind of pieced together set from Speedway Motors. You can actually buy the whole set from Speedway. For some reason, I chose to piece it together. Don't know why. It's got 11-inch rotors, and it's got the brake brackets and they're a set of metric calipers, and they're all from, like I say, from Speedway. The front shocks are off of a 1982 Checker Marathon cab, and they're mounted behind the arms, and I've got custom brackets at the top. You can see that I've got a wire tied to it. There's the top of the shock. It looks basically like a stock Mustang, but it's a little longer. I think actually Crown Vic shocks would have worked, and maybe I should have used those, but I wasn't sure if the stroke was enough. So I ended up with the Checker cab ones fit. I had to knock the bottom bar pins out of them, but and just have bolts run through them. My steering column is the original, and as you can see, it's just got a set up U-joints in it that are just cheapies too. Maybe I should have bought Borgsons or something. I was doing it over again, I might. So of course the steering column, you can see the steering column kind of here. It's out of a Mustang. It's a 60s Mustang. I bought it a long time ago at a flea market, swap meet, and it's of course a floor shift column, so it doesn't have any bracket on this side. The whole top part actually, where the blinker and stuff is the original Comet stuff. Only the collar and the shaft itself, the tubing. Then I added bearings and parts from the farm supply store. It has a bearing that's, I get down here right there. and I made a bracket there, and the bearing's just old cheap. It costs like I don't know, $12. So, and it locks on the steering column. I filed the end of the column, or ground the end of the column like a double D to fit that U-joint, just like the steering bar is there. And did my own home milling job on that. So that's all basically what that is. I made the sway bars of 7/8 inch. It was on the car already. So it's a regular Falcon Comet sway bar. You can't even see it. You can see it earlier there. There's a little piece of it down there. And it's original. I made new brackets. I'm not going to show them to you because they're like right up under the car. And I've got it laid lower down. But I made the end links and stuff for it that are bolted to the lower control arms. Tires and wheels. The tires are cheaper ones from Walmart. I just bought the cheapest tire that matched. They were both matched. The front ones are P255, no, P195 65 15s, and the rear ones are P225 60 R16s. So they're 16-inch wheels on the back, 15-inch wheels on the front. I had to modify my rear wheel wells on the outside here, edge, so the tire will clear when it's down like that. It wouldn't rub the bent part of the wheel well. So it's got a squared off wheel well I made out of a trailer fender. So just one of those steel trailer fenders. The wheels are, of course, American Racing Torque Thrust 2s, 16 7s with 4 inches of back spacing in the back, and 15 6s with 3.5 inches of back spacing in the front. Of course, it's got an onboard air system. I can show you. Here's the controls. They're all manual. I wanted everything manual, so it's just paddle valves. Put all this stuff together myself. I've never seen air ride before, but I went ahead and thought I'd have it on a car. So basically, it's just 4 paddle valves, and there's some check valves in there. You can see them inside that box, and the compressor and the air tank are back there. The tank's hanging underneath the package tray. Compressor, you can see it right there in front of the air tank. I made the little thing there that's a tank drain. It's called the Lazy Man tank. It's the only electric piece on there besides the compressor. And it's a, you push a button underneath. I don't know if you can see it here. I'll get you around there. There's 2 buttons. See the 2 buttons on the bottom? One's the compressor button, so you can turn it off and on manually. And the other one is a button. You push it and that valve opens and lets the water out of the tanks in case there is any. There's a filter dryer and stuff back there between the tank and the lines, air lines, which are run across the center. There's going to be a full-length console in the car. Alrighty, so already talked about the brakes. Of course, 98 Ford Explorer one's on the back. What I didn't talk about, the master cylinder. Manual 4-wheel disc. This is a master cylinder, believe it or not, for a car that's manual 4-wheel disc, and you won't believe what it is. It's a 1985 Lincoln Town Car, and so I picked this one. I mean, I bought a new one so I can aluminum. Also, it has hookups on the inside, so you're not trying to bend them across on the outside. There's a Willwood brake proportioner right down in there. I haven't adjusted it yet. I don't know how the brake bias is on the car yet. Of course, the brakes are huge on the back for this little car. And of course, I did all 3/16 nickel copper lines I ran myself. And I installed flare nuts. I didn't have any trouble with any leaks. I just had a couple where it looked like I hadn't tightened down the fittings. So anyway, we'll jump to the engine because I'm standing right here. The engine's the big thing. It just now got it started and running. As you can see, it's a 6-cylinder. It's inline 6. It's a 250. The block is out of a 77 Maverick. It was bored 30 over. So it's got 30 over stock pistons in it that have custom cups cut on the top. If I had done it over again, I would have got California pistons. Pistons are the same for the 250 and the 200. So I would have got California emission ones, which have a cup in the top already, but I wasn't thinking about it. The rods, 250 has a short flaw in the pistons to the deck of the top of the block. Mine was about an 1/8 inch down the hole. I wanted to bring it up closer. The block's been slightly decked. I don't know what it was. The machinist didn't tell me. It has longer rods in it though. 250 is kind of a rare bird. You can't really get parts for it. The rods in it are even rarer. They're a set of rods out of a 1986 to 91 Ford Tempo Topaz, 2.5 liter HSC OHV engine, overhead valve engine. Not like that's the exact same spec like on the Ranger engine, but it's not the same engine. What that HSC engine was, high swirl combustions. They only ran it for those few years, and it's basically this motor with 2 cylinders missing. So the stuff flops over. That was just kind of a lucky thing. Had a hard time finding them. They're hard to find. I found a used set, ordered 6 of them. It has ARP connecting rod bolts in it. Of course, it's got a stock oil pump. Can't get anything but a stock oil pump. It's got a aluminum water pump. Which is a GMB, just a OE replacement one. The head's a 72 200 head. It's a flat log, what they call flat log M head. M is just a designation. Doesn't really mean anything. I don't know if all of them are M's or not. All of them I've seen are M's, but as you can see, the top of the log is totally flat. Well, mine's really flat because I ground off the ladders off of it, and you'll find out why I did that here one day. It's got 77 to 82 valves put in it. So it has the largest valves that Ford had, and these little 6 cylinders came in 77 to 82. And so it's got a 1.76 intake and a 1.38 exhaust. And it's got exhaust. We put hardened exhaust valve seats in it so it could run unleaded gas. It's got crane cam valve springs in it. It's got I can't tell you the specs on them. If you want to know what they are, they're CRN 96803s. So there's the set of 12, you can get them in a set of 12. The rocker arms are adjustable rocker arms from an early Ford 6-cylinder, 144, 170, because they're adjustable. It's got new valve guides. It's got a set of vintage inline Viton valve seals in it. It also has a set of vintage inline 5/16 302 one-piece spring retainers, which really aren't the best choice. There's a better set in there that aren't the 302 ones, but the 302 ones work. It has a 67 to 72 stock timing chain, which is the best timing chain for them. They kept retarding the timing after 72. The oil pan is, as you can see it down there, maybe. It looks like it's set on the ground, which it almost is. It is custom built by me. 250, never had a rear sump oil pan. You couldn't get a rear sump oil pan for them. 250 oil pan's unique. It's the only engine that fits. I had a perfectly good one on the motor, so I cut it up and I put a back on it, which I got a little bit of an oil seep there, which I'm going to have to try to epoxy up. But aside from that, I don't think it leaks anywhere. I'll have to get under the car. It's just been recently it's started. I don't know if you can see, it's a little oily looking right around my dipstick. And I don't know, I think it's right against the pan where that T piece comes out. Holds 8 quarts of oil. So it holds a lot of oil. Going back to the motor, some of the stuff I guess got kind of ordered on my list. It has a set of 65 Galaxy 390 hydraulic lifters. They're exactly the same. And then it has a set of 390, same car, but solid lifter push rods in it. So those worked with the solid lifter rockers that were on the early 6s. The cam is from Howard's Cam that's in it. It's a 275 lift and on it, duration and lift. It's a little lumpy when it's running. It has a little bit of a lope. And it's also, it's got, not this impressed as you maybe not, but it's got a set of ARP head studs on it. There's one of them up there. So there's however many is on the car, 8 or 12 of them. I don't know. They're inside the valve cover too. The and then of course it's got a Felpro head gasket on it. You can kind of ignore the carburetor. That is a Carter YF clone I bought off eBay, cheap, just to get the car started so I could break the cam and stuff in. It runs pretty good. It works pretty good on the car. It's a truck carburetor, I think. I had to, I think it's for a 306. I don't know if you can see this. The stud is kind of, I had to cut the stud holes out. It kind of made them a little wider, narrower, and make it sort of fit on that adapter. The bore's the same. The butterfly's not all the same size as the hole in there. But anyhow, my ignition system. We'll cover that real fast. It's a it looks like, I know it looks like points distributor, but it's a Duraspark. It's an original Duraspark, so it's an electronic ignition. Except I don't have, I didn't use the Ford Duraspark control module. Instead, those wires you see coming out go all the way up here and under the dash of the car. And down there, I don't think you'll be able to see it. It's that thing with the blue pipe running past it. I'm running a 78, the car that it fits, it'll fit a lot of cars, was a 78 Camaro 350 4-pin ignition control module, ICM. And it's an 88 S10 a 2.5 liter ignition coil. So it's GM stuff. Sorry, I'm not totally a purist. I don't like using GM stuff, but the whole purpose of this car was build a car with off-the-shelf parts that are easy to replace. The coil wire runs, you can see there, through the firewall. So there's that bulkhead thing, and it runs just to that. So the plugs are a set of platinum autolites. And again, it runs, I think it's run a little lean, but it runs pretty good. The radiator is looks terrible, like you can't touch those aluminum radiators without marking them up. And I don't have much space there. But the radiator is a Champion, and it's a, let's see here, it's a EC375, and that is for late 60s, early 70s Ford big blocks. I thought, well, I'm never going to get too hot. I made this lower radiator hose myself. The top part is a stock 250 hose. There's that band, it switches, and that is a Mercedes-Benz piece of hose right there. And it's got a aluminum hose connector underneath that shrink band. Oh, that looks pretty good. Top hose is a regular stock 250 hose. I had to modify the front core support and widen it out for that to fit, but it should never overheat, hopefully. The car is going to have air conditioner eventually. The exhaust system, I got a dual out, stainless steel. Was a lot prettier than this until I started it. Now it's all discolored. It's off eBay. I had to space it out with these aluminum spacers that I just made myself, the 3/4 inch aluminum. I machined them out by hand mostly, and put them on there because it wouldn't clear the starter. Which you see the starter down there, which is just a regular mini Ford V6 starter, or V8. They're all the same. The starters are all the same later on. Just hit this real quick like. I got a 98 Mustang G3 starter, or it's a tempo starter or alternator. I don't really remember. I had to put the twin sheath pulley on there, but and then I have that all wired in, and that's a Mega Fuse. That is a Mustang starter relay, or I guess is what they call it. Second one, because I broke the first one by tightening the nuts down too tight. Move on, we talked about drivetrain. It's got of course, a Ford T5 out of a 98 Mustang V6. The bell housing is a V6 bell housing, and the flywheel is which is a little bit deeper than the V8 bell housing, but it's a lot cheaper. Nobody wants the V6 bell housings because they're, I don't know, about a, inch or so longer, 3/4 of an inch longer than a V8 one. And they got to use a 168 tooth flywheel, which for me, Ford 6 uses a 0 balance flywheel, and for me to use a V8 flywheel, I would have got a 0 balance flywheel, which were stinking expensive. But the 2002 V6 Mustang uses a 0 balance flywheel, so it's got a 2002 Mustang flywheel. It's got a 2002 Mustang, or it's got a 96 bell housing. It's got a 2002 flywheel. It's got a ARP pressure plate bolts. It's got ARP flywheel bolts. It's got the clutch is also a 2002 Mustang clutch. So the clutch is itself. It is a hydraulic. I built it myself. It's got a Toyota Land Cruiser Master, and if you can see it way back there, it has an Isuzu Rodeo Slave, and they have just a stainless steel pot line run between them. Works really good. It's hooked right on to the regular stock clutch, and of course brake pedal. The gas pedal, I meant to mention it's like a T-Bird gas pedal from the 80s, and it's cable one, and I just retrofit. I had to bend the arm up a little bit, and it's coming out. You see it, right? It's kind of, it doesn't really work very good for this carburetor. It's going to be moving along the back firewall into the other carburetors from a different direction, so that's all temporary. It has a return fuel pressure regulator. Those little carburetors that go on this car want 3 pounds of pressure. That's all they like. So I found this, and I didn't have to return one, so I ran 2 lines back to the gas tank. While I mentioned it, the gas tank is a 1968 Mustang gas tank. It's fit in there. I had to modify my filler neck. Had to shorten it down because the tank sticks up into the floor. Of course, it's different dimension. It's taller mostly, but it's a little different. I didn't have any floor anyway, so I custom built the floor around the tank. Let's see, don't want to lose my spot here. The drive shaft is a aluminum drive shaft out of a 2009-2011 Crown Vic police car, so it's an aluminum, and it fits right in there. I didn't have to shorten it or anything. The I think that's about all of it. I don't know if I left anything out. Lots of, because the seats are just little extras if you want to know. They are 68 Thunderbird seats that are in terrible shape. They have to be rebuilt. I can't find covers for them, so I don't know what I'm going to do. Not going to have a back seat. It's getting a firewall put in there. And it's going to have a full-length console. The battery, by the way, back here, it's sitting right there and looks like a lawnmower battery. It is. I don't know if you can get a perspective on that. A little tiny battery, and it starts the car. I'm a little worried it won't have enough reserve, because when that compressor runs, boy, it sucks the juice. I've got a 200 amp breaker in the main line. Power, these things, other things you saw between the seat. Of course, the red thing shuts the negative off for the car, so it won't run. It's got a brake handle there out of a Mustang as well, about a 98 or so. And it doesn't work quite, it's not adjusted quite right yet, but it'll kind of stop the car, but just not very well. That red button next to that other thing is the inertia switch for the fuel pump. If you get hit, it'll pop and shut the fuel pump off, so instead of pumping fuel to the car, it'll make the car die that way. There's also another little thing down here sitting, see if I can see what I'm looking at right there. That's a little oil pressure switch. It's got 3 wires on it. The gray wire is hot wire. Looks white, but it's gray. The blue wire is active when the car is in start mode. and the red wire is the wire to the fuel pump. So what it does is basically is the red wire, you needs power to run a fuel pump, but you have to have oil pressure. But when you start, you don't have oil pressure. Power is applied to the blue wire, which connects the red wire, which makes the fuel pump run. And this is the house that Jack built. Little things I don't have on my list. That's basically what all phase one was get this car up and running and driving. So far it seems pretty good. My electrical system, I'm redoing all my wiring myself. I've got a set of actually marine type breakers or fuse box here. It's waterproof. There's two big main constant voltage things. One's ignition and one's accessory. So you turn those on, it sets power to that. The power wire is coming from right here. It's under the dash. It goes up under the dash. It's hooked on the dash and runs all the way across and into that box. Of course, again, I don't know if I should. That's a mega fuse for the alternator. So I don't know. That's about it. Lots of custom built stuff. It's got a set of things that I don't use. It's got a set of subframe connectors I just made out of 1.5" tubing, and I ran them so they run along the bottom of the car. I think I mentioned the back seat. We'll have a full-length console covering all that stuff you see right there, and I've got a piece of paper blown away that I was reading off of. I've got a stupid, cheap third brake light right here. This will be mounted on the rear package tray. I don't want anybody hitting me in the back. I've got some cool things in store. I've got a set of things for sequential tail lights, which will be kind of neat on this car. I've always wanted them, and because it's made for them. Phase 2, just kind of quick on my phase 2. I said I finished phase 1, and my phase 2 is coming up. Actually, part of it's already started because that was supposed to be the wiring, and I had some downtime, so I was doing wiring. The wiring harness is just about finished. The only thing it lacks is the wiring for the air conditioner. Air conditioner is part of phase 2. There's a factory AC. That was a factory AC car that motor came out of, and there is the factory AC bracket. Obviously, you can see there's some interference with it and the header. So I'm going to have to scoot the compressor out, probably go with a Sandon instead of a York. Hopefully my belts will I'll be able to find a belt that won't slip because it doesn't have very much contact on certain parts of it. Anything weird on this car, besides the things I've mentioned. I built a little block off plate for the fuel pump. It's a piece of aluminum out of a Mac base. There's a lot of things made out of Mac bases. And that was the spacer on the fan. That's a Durali fan. I had to have it to have enough clearance, and I had to make a little spacer. I don't know if you can see it in there. It's shiny aluminum, and because otherwise the fan hit the lower harmonic balancer. Anyway, like I say, a lot of custom stuff on the car. That's why it's taken a while. Nothing bolt on. I like where the shifter is. A lot of people put that S10 tail housing and move that shifter way forward. I guess I'm tall enough that it's about right for me because my seat's back far enough. And I guess if you had a bench seat, your shifter would be sitting against the seat. Actually, it doesn't look like it would be for me. But anyhow, the guy, you probably saw the air horns. Let's see if I can make them honk. The horn don't work with the buttons. They're a little loud. They probably won't last long. They're Harbor Freight ones, and I'm probably going to replace them with a set of real horn. But I got them there now. I don't know where they are, and I ran an air line up under the fender there. And so that was the other little thing that was in between the seats. Was you see there was a Air Max fitting right there. That's the horn. It just, when you push the horn button, it makes that thing open and lets the air out, and it makes horn honk. So that's about it. Phase 2, of course, obviously going to get the windows back in it, which means that it's going to have to be painted, at least partially. the headliner has to go in before the windows go in on these cars. So I didn't really want to do that yet. So, but I will be doing some interior work. I may put the headliner in, at least. And I think I'm going to put a black headliner in it. The windows, have to buy all weather strip for the windows. Have to buy rebuild kits for the wing windows, which are expensive. And all the rubber for the car is expensive, but I can get it, so I'm thankful for that. The old car's solid, pretty solid. It doors open and shut good. So you probably didn't see that because I was turned away, did you? Try that again. Shut good. Don't know what's going to get new weather strip on them, but the rear body repair I did here. I have a parts car that earned its status as parts car rather well, but you can't get quarter panels for these cars, and mine are rusted out. Been rusted out since I was 17 when I got the car. Hated it. Now they're not rusted out. Now they look like Frankenstein's monster. I built all the patches. I would have liked to have good quarters. I had not real good quarters. So I used that patch. You can see a lot of, get down there. Do lots of patches. But I think a little Bondo, you won't see them. This piece right here, this flat is a piece of 18 gauge I just cut out. So it's a little thicker than, there is no thickness to this either here. There's no lip up in there. So this is right into the inner fender well. So I think I can get my tires off. I don't know. I haven't had them off for a while. Anyhow, I'm gonna paint it gray. That's my plan now. The hood's already painted. It's black. I'll probably repaint it. It and the cowl, if you can see, it's painted as well. I know it's hard to tell because everything's black, but it's got a kind of a rough, oh, you can't see that, I don't think. I may sand it and repaint it. It's going to be satin black, hitting the hood. The rest of the car's going to be gray. I'm probably going to paint these black, satin black as well. The door frames. Interior of the car's going to be black. Haven't decided on carpet yet. I really don't want carpet. My wife thinks it needs carpet because it's loud, but the headers aren't hooked up on it yet. They're just blowing out onto the car, so it is really loud. It does have a set of cherry bomb glass packs on it that aren't hooked up yet. I put those on when I had the car flipped up on its side. Whole bottom of the car has been cleaned up. It has been painted with a 2K bed liner. The floors are all repaired. This floor pan's been replaced. It's the only one that's been replaced. That toe board's been replaced. On that side, you can't see it, but the toe board's been replaced. There's a few patches like that. I'm okay with it. The rest of the car is pretty solid on the floor. Torque boxes were rusted out. The one on the right side really bad. I rebuilt the torque box on the right. I patched the one on the left. Of course, again, I built the trunk. I'll go ahead and show you this. Don't make fun of me for these. You won't be able to see nothing because it's a lot of stuff in here. There's a vintage air mock-up unit that I didn't use. This is all, if you're familiar with them, know that that's not how they look. That is a floor plug for that's actually an air fitting under there, the airbag. That's usually where the shocks come up, and the shocks in this car are underneath it. That's hard to see because of the light. But as you can see, it's got a Mustang gas tank under all that junk. The wheel wells are normal on the inside, and they're really wide on the outside. I don't know if you can't see that. You kind of see that. Wide and square. So this is a relay box for the compressor and the fuel pump. fuel pump's under the floor. It's loud too, as they all are. I have the weather strip for this trunk clip, but of course I didn't put it on yet. The car, that's about you can see where I painted that gray. And then maybe you can see, that's the color the car is going to be. Just going to paint with tractor paint. Windows are all good. I'm still kind of thinking about replacing the windshield though, because it is 55 years old. And you can tell it. It's not broken or anything, but it isn't very clear. Anyhow, that was my finger. Anyway, that is kind of an update on the car. I'll probably have to edit this down because this looks like it's 40 minutes long and that'll never upload. But that is the wait. Oh wait, those are LED headlights. 3 out of 4. It's brand new. They were cheapy headlight. The housings are glass. They're nice housings, and I bought them separate from the bulbs. I bought LED bulbs. This one has to be modified, the high beams on both sides, because they don't line up with the notches. But so they have LED headlight. I have all LED lighting that's going on the car, and I guess you probably didn't notice the gauges sitting on the dash. It does have gauges on the dash. They're all manual. Well, these are manual water temp, manual oil pressure, which has been leaking, but I think I fixed it. Of course, the fuel level and a voltmeter. And then this is old SunTac 2 that I've had in the car. If I get it in the picture, I already had it in the car, but and it's going to go back in the car. I don't know what else. This is stuff. There's a lot of wiring stuff to be done. This is the brakes, and I don't have a hole above the brake for them yet. So they're always on, except I got them unplugged, so they won't be always on because there's no taillights in back there. So I can't think of much anything. It's got a headlight switch. Is out of I replaced the headlight switch. You can see it there. It's out of a late 70s Ford pickup. It's a Bronco pickup. It's got a plug that goes on it. I've got a wiper switch coming in that is also out of a pickup for 2-speed and intermittents. New ignition switch, new key, because the old one wouldn't come off of start, and then my original lighter, which I'll hook up. No radio going in the car, none of that stuff. The shifter is a NDH that was on the 3-speed that was in the car. I just cut the handle off. I got a short throw shifter in there. Now the little level, covered up the ball. The little level that's right there is kind of see the car if it's level or not. It don't work real well, but kind of works. I got a wiper motor in yesterday for the 2-speed wipers. It's also a Ford pickup wiper motor that should fit in there. I'm not treading new ground there. I know I left something out, but I'll make another video sometime, and hopefully this one won't be so you won't get seasick watching it. It's a cool car. I like it. It seems like just the little bit I've moved it in now, the shed, it has a lot of pep. That engine's really torquey, and it's really going to be torquey when it gets that carburetor comes off of there and it gets the triple deuces on there. I don't know if you saw them. They were in the trunk. The intake's got to be cast. It's laying in the shed. This is one of 3 here. They look like that. They're progressive 2 barrels. Supposed to be really good carburetors. They're off a Ford Escort, but they're all manual. It opens. I'll get that picture. It opens one and then the other. It's a linkage. Opens by a linkage. I'm just going to tie all 3 of them together. Not going to run it any more progressive than it already runs. They were off of a 90 cc car, and so 90 liter, whatever it is, 90 cc's. I don't know, 1 liter car. So a little over like a 1.9 liter. And this car is a 4.1 basically. So I thought 3 of them would work good. And there's 3 of them in there, and they all match, plus some other junk. My tail light panels are in there, and like I say, the big thing's that fake air conditioner unit. Trunk lid's junk. I need a new trunk lid, but it's all rusted out right here, right along here. It is rusted out here. Okay, it doesn't look rusted out because I fixed it, but it's not fixed very well. This is all fiberglass. This is steel. I cut this little thing here and welded it in there, and then I just used a fiberglass drape thingy type thing for right there. Just was an experiment to see how it'd work, because I'm going to change this trunk lid eventually. And I didn't finish it the best in the world. I'm cutting this out because you're not going to see that. But ultimately I need a new trunk lid. Sorry about that. I'm going to hook that back shut, so I'll move the car back in the shed. So, all right. There she is. Of course, I have all the trim and bumpers. They're obviously just not on there. I think I'm only the second owner on the car. I've had it for 41 years, something like that. So, I say bodywork's coming. I'll be working on this. That's really the only thing that needs worked on. It's the two rear wheel wells. And then I'll be getting the windows back in it, getting it painted and get the windows back in it. And it'll be ready for the road. The fenders are just sitting on there. They're not. They have bolts in the top and nowhere else. That's why they're a little gaps all off at the bottom. Fenders are in really good shape in this car. This one's in really, really good shape. The other one had a couple of rust spots on it. And this door here is in really, really good shape. I don't even think it had a door ding on it. The other one had a couple of door dings, but no rust at all. And I repaired the cowl on it as well. The cowl had a little rustiness in the bottom. I completely removed the cowl vent on this end because the air conditioner sits right there and it has to come out anyway. They want you to take the one out on the other end, but I liked it, so I left it in there. I think it'll work. I just have to be able to get an air conditioner duct past it. So I think I can do it. Won't be much trouble. So anyway, like I say, phase 2 is getting ready to start. Phase 2 is kind of started, actually. I'll be doing some more wiring. I don't have a lot of, like I say, I don't have a lot of wiring left to do. I'll be getting the air conditioner unit here one day. It's not top priority. It does need to get in there before I get too much done. But anyway, so okay, well, thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll see this car on the road before too long.